Welcome to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe and Dave. Be warned, the discussions in this podcast may contain detailed spoilers. For spoiler-free reviews, be sure to check out our show on YouTube. Enter at your own risk and enjoy the show.
So what if someone else digs up this movie? May God have mercy on his soul. And welcome to Reviews Without Remorse, episode number 148. And in this episode, you know I'm happy. The trailer for No Time to Die finally released. Dave and I will discuss it. The trailer for Black Widow also dropped. I wasn't expecting that one. And we lost DC Fontana. Don't know who that is. Dave will be happy to fill you in. And then Dave and I will discuss something off the beaten path for Reviews Without Remorse. Dave and I go back to 1995 for the Robin Williams hit Jumanji. And what's up, partner?
How you doing, my man? I'm apologizing in advance, ladies and gentlemen. This was more of along the lines of, well, they're doing a sequel. I guess we should probably cover it. Might not have been the best choice, so I'm apologizing a little bit about the next three Jumanji reviews. But hey, you know what? It's all in good fun. But yes, we have much to discuss, and the fact that you don't know who DC Fontana is, sir, it hurts. But we're gonna learn.
I will. You're gonna school me. So let's get into it.
Why would I betray you?
We all have our secrets. You just didn't get to yours yet.
First of all, I'm liking the fact that it looks like a lot of the work that they did was practical. Or they have the most amazing CGI I've ever seen. A lot of the stunt work looked really, really good in the No Time to Die trailer. I was very impressed with that.
Yeah, listen, I obviously, until I see the final product, I can't tell you what was CGI and what's not, as far as the trailer goes. Yeah, it all looked pretty practical to me, and I can tell you that a lot of the shots, because we are living in a world of, it's like people just sort of forgot the concept of spoilers. Basically, every time something got leaked, anytime somebody with a cell phone was near where they were filming, it got leaked real fast. So I saw a lot of the filming that went into some of the scenes in the trailer, specifically the DB5 car chase, that jump from bridge. So yeah, I mean, a lot of that is very practical stunt work. And yeah, listen, I'll just say it. I loved this trailer. I could not have been happier. They kept us waiting a long time for this one. So you can be sure that me and the rest of the Bond geeks were just out on the edge of our seats yesterday morning, waiting for this to drop. And wow, I mean, it did not disappoint. Interesting to see where some of these things are going to go. Interesting to see if it's just a great film and not a great Bond film. Because again, if the story is playing out the way it looks like it is, it is kind of off the beaten path. If you recall the end of Spectre, Bond sort of went off into the sunset with his leading lady, which he does kind of in all of his movies, except this one is kind of like, I'm not kidding this time. I really am quitting and going off into the sunset with my lady here. And now it's chapter 2, Trouble in Paradise, and things happen. So I'm very excited for it, and yeah, the trailer, it worked. I am excited and energized.
I will say at first, when he was being Mr. Dour, everyone has secrets, we just haven't found you. Or whatever, however you put it.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm kind of making fun of it, but I thought the delivery was actually really good. But one of the things I appreciated is every once in a while, it did actually interject a little of Bond humor in there, like when he sees Q again for the first time. It was nice to see a little bit of levity from him, because I kind of feel like his Bond has just been so damn morose, and it was nice to see something, fun. And fun in a good way, not fun in an over the top way. Not sure what the deal is with Rami Malek's bad guy. He was a little hard to understand every once in a while. I'm sure it has to do with those burns, whatever it is on his face. But I am curious about it. And yeah, I geeked the hell out when he put the machine guns out of the headlights and the donut around and shot all the cars.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, I did. All told, I'm not sure what to expect, but this was nice, and I really enjoyed it. And it's obvious to me that Kari Fukunaga. Sorry for ruining your name, sir, if that's not the way it's said, but he he's got some real good visual flair, and that's very much on display here. And I think it might even work well in a more modern Bond esque way. And I'm liking it. I liked it a lot, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. Come, what is it? April 10th. April 10th.
Mm. Yep. Yeah, I agree with all the things you said, and you can be sure the fan theories about, about Remy Malek's his character are flying, and yeah, look the visual look of it. I mean, I two things off the bat. I mean, the look of it was stunning, and we are definitely back to the gorgeous colors and the gorgeous cinematography of Skyfall, not that ugliest sepia wash that was Spectre.
Mm.
So I'm very happy about that. One of the things that jumped out at me in this is it possible we're going to get a, a not linear timeline? Uh, you know, the Bond films are they traditionally it's all been linear.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really seen a use of minor uses of a flashback here and there, but nothing substantial.
Mm.
This time, I'm saying to myself, look, either this is going to be a linear timeline with some big gaps, a very epic film, or we might get, a Tarantino-esque, Fukunaga-esque, messing with the timeline. Maybe we start at a certain place. Maybe we flash back to show how we got to here, and then we go forward from there. I don't know, but it definitely looks like there is some gaps in time in the story. So I'm curious to see where that goes.
I am too, and looking very much forward to it.
I used to have nothing. And then I got this job. This family. But nothing lasts forever.
No, that was a surprise. A couple of surprises, actually. Number one, um, considering where Hopper may or may not be after the end of Stranger Things 3, hearing him in the Russian accent gave me giggles for all the wrong reasons.
I didn't even make that connection, but nicely done. Thank you.
I was like, really? But on the other side of the coin, I mean, I see where they're going. Sort of. Just so we know, we're talking about the Black Widow trailer. Now, it's been confirmed that the story of this movie takes place in between Civil War and Infinity War. So this is her when she's on the run after she betrayed the Sokovia Accords or whatever that is, and she goes home to Russia. It looks like. I'm tacit liking. Okay, the fight scenes, of course, are going to be great because anytime the Widow is in a fight, she her hand-to-hand combat is just outstanding. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm very excited about that. But what exactly is happening is not very clear. They're kind of just counting on the Black Widow name and a couple of action sequences to try to sell it, and I think it does okay with that. But still not finding the meat of it. But the only thing that got me really, really excited was seeing Taskmaster in action. But it was only for like 2 damn seconds. And it really, really pissed me off. There's like 2 seconds, but I'm hoping that's a reason for that. Do you know who the character of Taskmaster is?
I do not.
Okay. So at one point in the trailer, you see this guy with this kind of like death mask almost, and he's aiming a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
That's Taskmaster. Now, what Taskmaster is he has the ability, he could literally fight a hero for like maybe like 30 seconds or so, and he has the ability to instantly absorb their moves. So like he could match their moves almost immediately. So
Hmm.
within a couple, if you don't take him down immediately, you can't fight him. You're done because it's going to be an even match, and all it needs is just one. One of his things is actually he also has a shield because he watched Captain America throw his shield, and he can throw Cap's shield the same way. So he's a really,
Nice.
really damn cool villain, and I'm hoping that they really go a whole hog with him. The fact that he's using a bow and arrow is kind of cool. So that's really the big excitement for me in this movie. I'm not sure about anything else, but seeing him there was really exciting. But again, we don't really have an idea of what the conflict is or
Hmm.
where things are going. But it goes back to in Feige we trust, I suppose. What do you think?
I'm gonna echo that last statement. In Feige, we trust, for damn sure. Because I mean, again, I am getting. I hate to say it, but I'm sort of almost on autopilot when it comes to the Marvel movies. It's almost like I can't even look at a trailer and say yes, no, because again, I'm pretty certain I know the level of quality that will be there. And even my least favorite Marvel movies are still better than 90% of what else is, getting passed off. I'll say this: I was pretty surprised, frankly, because I didn't even realize this film was that far along.
Oh yeah, it's coming
I
out in
mean,
May. Yeah.
I guess I haven't looked at my Marvel calendar in a little while. I know that I almost felt like it was sort of an afterthought for a second there. Like I remember the big lineup, and I guess I'm just forgetting which was when. So yeah, I was honestly surprised. I was like, wow, I didn't even know this was that close. So when I heard a trailer dropped, I was like, wait, what? So yeah, pretty cool. And honestly, I loved when Hopper put on the mask and he goes, "Oh my god, it still fits." I had a flashback of like the Incredibles,
Mr. Incredible, yeah.
you know. I love that. I thought that was great. And again, I'm really happy that her character finally got a solo film. So that alone got me excited. So I'm happy.
Yeah, agreed. It was a fun show. Doesn't give a lot right now, but that's typical of a Marvel movie. But I'm in.
Incredible power. It can't be a machine as we understand mechanics.
And what is it? A question.
Born March 25th, 1939, in Sussex, New Jersey. Dorothy Fontana, as her pen name was known, DC Fontana, was a writer for many, many years, starting with the TV series The Tall Man back in the 1960s, working on Frontier Circus, Ben Casey, The Wild Wild West, The Road West, Big Valley, Lancer, Here Comes the Bride, Bonanza, all these. She has worked on a lot of different shows in many different ways. The $6 Million Man, Land of the Lost, Streets of San Francisco, Kung Fu. This woman has written, okay? She's written an episode of Dallas, of The Waltons, of The Runaways, of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. But she is being brought up not just because she's a writer from all these wonderful shows. Her biggest contribution was being the head writer for the original Star Trek TV series.
Hmm.
She is when it comes to things Vulcan, she wrote it. Her episodes were the ones that mostly focused on Vulcan. Um, not the big one, the one with Kirk and Spock. She didn't write that one, but she did write the episode that introduced the character of Sarek, and she did also flesh out a lot of Vulcan ideas and tradition in the Star Trek animated series with the episode Yesteryear.
Hmm.
She also was the one, like, not many people know this. Are you familiar with the episode City on the Edge of Forever?
Dr. McCoy said the same thing.
McCoy. Leonard McCoy?
Yes. He's in the mission. He's
Stay right here. Spock! Stay right there. What is it? McCoy. He's in... Spock! Hercules, help me, Jim. I could have saved her. Do you know what you just did? He knows, Doctor. He knows.
Doesn't she get hit by a car?
Yes, she was hit by a car. Kirk had to let her die. Now, that was written by the amazing Harlan Ellison, but the teleplay he actually wrote. So what you saw on the screen, that was mostly her. You know, all Ellison's idea, but things like there's at one point where they're trying to figure out if they can pinpoint exactly where the digression in time is. You know, Spock's trying to build a computer using the parts of the day, and it kind of builds out in the entire apartment. He's just got little weird knickknacks of electronics all over the place. That was her idea.
Nice.
Dorothy Fontana is DC Fontana. They called her DC Fontana because at the time, women writers, they didn't trust women writers, so you had to use your initials. Okay, that almost continues to this day, right up to J.K. Rowling with Harry Potter. She was working right up to the end. She died at the age of 80 on December 2nd of this year. And this woman was literally the right hand man of Gene Roddenberry. And she was there when Star Trek The Next Generation launched. She wrote some of the scripts there. She worked on the Bible, the show Bible. She's a legend. She's a legend that was never known. And now she is.
Nicely done, my friend, and thank you for bringing that one to my attention. Because, like you said, I knew her work, but I didn't know who to give the credit to. So,
yep. Farewell, fair lady. Thank you. Thank you for everything, Spock.
I'm glad you decided to buy this place. I'm sure that you and your kids will be very happy here.
Every house has secrets.
Everybody in town thinks the place is haunted.
But what happened in this house?
Little Alan Parrish. He just vanished about 25 years ago.
Is a mystery that began a long time ago when Alan Parrish was just a young boy who made an incredible discovery.
Jumanji. You want to play?
When two kids find and play a magical board game, they release a man trapped in it for decades and a host of dangers that can only be stopped by finishing the game. Written by Jonathan Henslow, Greg Taylor, and Jim Strain. Story by Greg Taylor, Jim Strain, and Chris Van Allsburg. Based on the book by Chris Van Allsburg. Directed by Joe Johnston. Jumanji! Okay, apologies. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. To start off with some props, it's nice when it's nice every once in a while to see subdued Robin Williams. Like, not over the top, like that. I wish we had recorded that. But that was nice. The plot is inoffensive, but honestly, the biggest problem with this movie is it relies on something that doesn't work, and that is the visual effects. Every time a visual effect happens in this movie, it's like it takes a step forward, because think about the plot. It's actually kind of an intriguing plot. They're playing this mystical game. They roll the dice. The guy disappears. The girl freaks out and runs away. And he's waiting for a two or a five. I think was the roll that he needed. To come back. 26 years later, he gets pulled out. There's something there that could have worked. And I'm sure I've never read the original story by Chris Van Allsburg, who also, by the way, wrote the original story for the Polar Express. We can get to that another time. But every time that they try to do something, it just loses everything because the effects are just horrendous. And I'm thinking to myself, did they even hold up at the time? I don't think they even held up at the time. Because, when they did stuff practical, things were okay. But even then, they couldn't get the practical right because little monkey boy looks terrible. The makeup just looks terrible on him. And the CGI tails, this movie disappoints me, not because of the story it's all. I'm actually a fan of the story. I like the idea of the story. And I like, the performances by Rob Williams and Bonnie Hunt. I liked their interaction and everything like that. That was good stuff. But everything else surrounding it just chops away at any potential that it has.
Mm.
It's not the worst movie I've ever seen. It has, it's fun, it's innocent, but it's really, really hard to take seriously.
Okay, well, I have to tell you now, I'm kind of confused because I'm saying to myself, I thought for sure that the reason we're even reviewing these is because this had to have been like a favorite of yours from way back when. Uh, or maybe this is something that Liam discovered and now it's one of his favorites. So I thought for sure you were going to come out, telling me what a sweet, wonderful tale this is. And, well,
I
first
gotta
of
call
all,
it like it is.
well, let me say this. First of all, you're dead on about the special effects. And I was sort of, I was trying to remind myself, well, this was a long time ago. And frankly, it's probably back in a time when I wasn't even sure that they were doing CGI back then. So I was trying to kind of just, look around the bad effects. I mean, honestly, like a lot of them weren't terrible. The times when I just could not stop seeing it was the monkeys. I mean,
The monkeys were terrible.
oh boy, I mean, they were so ridiculous. I mean, they didn't even, I couldn't even tell if they're even supposed to look real because the faces on them were so bizarre. Like they were sort of like half realistic, half cartoony. Like they were kind of more like the flying monkeys from The Wizard of Oz than actual monkeys, which I didn't understand because the rest of like all the other jungle animals were supposed to look realistic. Well, actually, the crocodiles looked a little kind of cartoony as well.
No, they all look cartoony, dude. None of them works.
Well,
You're
when
being
they do
kind.
well, I mean, when they did the stampede, I mean, they tried to make the animals look real. I mean, the elephants and the rhinoceroses. I mean, they look like real animals. These other things, again, look like it was a conscious decision on the creatives to make it a little more cartoony. And I kind of thought, well, all right, well, that's a way to go, I guess. Then again, they got them riding bicycles and motorcycles or whatever. So who knows? Look, I had to give the movie credit for, and by the way, I literally have never seen this before. So this was the first time I ever sat down to watch it. This was one of those where I had no interest in it when it first came out. I just, assumed it was a kid's movie, and that's not what I was looking for back then. And when I watched it, I kind of was like, and again, I didn't know much about it except for literally probably just the little snippets I could remember from the commercial. So that and the fact that I was like, oh, well, they made a remake out of that. So, all right, whatever. But anyway, one of the nice surprises was seeing a Robin Williams movie that I had never seen before.
Okay.
It was nice to get, it's like when I watched it, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot how Robin Williams had such a warming presence for me. And I kind of actually watched this and said to myself, I'm surprised I didn't give it a shot. I mean, I guess this was sort of when he was kind of creeping into like the Mrs. Doubtfire stage, where I kind of just felt like his choices were kind of getting weak. Because up until then, I like everything from The World According to Garp up through Dead Poet Society, and I'll even throw in some funny ones like Popeye even. I mean, I always felt like he had such a great presence, and even I shouldn't even forget. Oh shit, what's the one? How do you like them apples?
You mean Good Will Hunting?
Thank you, Good Will Hunting. How could I forget that? I mean, he was just great in he really picked such great films, and he is so incredibly likable. So right off the bat, I had to give the movie a couple points for that, even though it's just a kind of a silly, fluffy. I mean, again, this lands somewhere right in between like Peter Pan. Just it was kind of, even the plot. Honestly, I kind of felt like the plot was sort of odd. The idea that they went to the trouble to start off with a young boy, have him get trapped for 20 odd years, and then emerge to now be in the form of Robin Williams, so that you essentially have this kind of Peter Panish figure. Now Robin Williams can be a little over the top and a little kind of zany because he's really a child trapped in a grown-up's body, etc. And I kind of felt like it was sort of like they were trying to shoehorn a way to get Robin Williams in here and to get him to be kind of zany. Because otherwise, I felt like I didn't understand what that part of the plot was why that was necessary. Anyway, I felt that the story was original. I thought it was nice to see something that wasn't based on something else. Even though it might have been, you said it was a book or something before.
Yes, it was. It was a children's book, actually.
There you go. So again, I had no knowledge of it, but again, it was just a fresh way to be. It was something original for me anyway, and in a way just to sort of just be kind of nutty and have some fun. I thought the tone was a little odd because there was moments where, again, this is supposed to be sort of lighthearted craziness, magic and whatever, and just okay, like we don't. There's not a peep about what the game is, why it has these supernatural powers. It just is, and you have to play it. And crazy things happen. But it was sort of, there were moments when I felt like it was straddling. I mean, this is sort of, I'm guessing this book would qualify as young adult because it kind of had that quality where it was on one hand fancy and fanciful and fun, and then it had like some kind of creepy horror moments. Some of it was a little dark if you think about it for too long.
Yeah.
So anyway, those are my long-winded preliminary thoughts. It was interesting. It was unique. I enjoyed what they were trying to do. Again, tonally, for something that it had some darker moments for something that should have been a little light and fun. But again, I appreciated it for its qualities.
And it does have some scary, yet it had some scary moments. I felt that the stampede would have been a great moment if it didn't look so terrible. I thought, the flood was a great moment if it didn't look so terrible. Where he got stuck half in the floor at one point, where the floor became quicksand for a little bit, and they got stuck half in, half out. I thought that would have been a great moment. But the biggest problem with the movie is that it doesn't really build up very well to those moments because they're relying so much on external effects, and there's nothing you can really do practically or even explain to the cast. I mean, this is the early days. This is the cowboy days of this type of CGI. This is 1995. Jurassic Park, which really was the first showcase of something like that, was the previous year. But here's the thing with CGI that I'm finding more and more. Now, for example, we talked about The Mandalorian this episode, okay? And we talked about the memification, depending upon how you pronounce it, of who they call Baby Yoda. He's not Baby Yoda. That's a whole other way. But here's the thing about why that character works so well. Baby Yoda, so-called, is both. He's a puppet that has subtle CG enhancements. Jurassic Park was a combination of practical dinosaurs built by Stan Winston and CGI effects. There's your difference. The minute you take anything practical out and just completely erase it, the prequels. Look at the prequels, which we just had to endure. Yeah. All right? Whenever stuff was completely CGI, it's like there's a part of you that's like, wow, that's great imagination, but you didn't real world it. When you take out any of those elements, try to reworld it, it doesn't matter that Robin Williams, when he's being chased by Van Pelt, you're kind of feeling, oh goodness, that's actually a little bit scary, because half a second later a monkey will throw something or something like that, and you're like,
right.
Sake. It's like this could have been a really This feels like a movie that should have been made maybe 10 years later.
Mm.
And nothing against Joe Johnston. I happen to like Captain America: The First Avenger, which is another movie that Joe Johnston directed, and The Rocketeer, which is a movie
Mm.
we should cover, also directed by Joe Johnston. He's a guy with a visual effects background, and I kind of feel he leaned a little too heavy on that. And it causes the tone of the movie to shift consistently over and over again, and it becomes a frustrating mess. Really, what it comes down to, because I want to like so much about this movie, and when I was younger, I was kind of like, oh, this is kind of neat. I love the design of the game board. I think the game board is so freaking nice. I like that
Mm.
wood look. I like the way the pieces are, look carved and the way they move and everything like that. Love that. All that stuff I love. But every time there's something that I really like comes on the screen, something else happens that just takes it away. Everybody else is just doing their job. Kirsten Dunst, very young Kirsten Dunst. I think this was even before
Yeah.
Interview with a Vampire. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to actually look that up. But yes, very young Kirsten Dunst. She's from Point Pleasant, New Jersey. She was like
Is
12
that
years.
right?
Yeah, from Point Pleasant, New Jersey. Didn't know that,
No,
did
I
you?
didn't know that. No, I sure didn't.
Yep. Probably saw her at a club at one of those places at one point in her life. But anyway, no, yeah, This was. I'm not seeing Interview with a Vampire. Okay, this was like the year after Interview with a Vampire.
Mm.
Okay, so this was like her second movie. She was fine. She did that fake whatever the hell action she was trying to do at one point in the movie. It just sounded so phony. Everybody in this movie is just fine. It's just everything else about this movie that I guess I don't know. I don't know, man.
Mm.
Here's the thing. The reason why I wanted to do this series is because I I went last year to see the new Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, the one with the Rock and all that other stuff,
Sure.
and I kind of liked it. I don't know if I'm still gonna like it when we watch it again for next week's show, but I did kind of like it. It's kind of like, excuse me, it's kind of like they took all of my problems with the first Jumanji and weirdly made it work. Like, the stuff in here is mostly CGI. You know that, but it worked. I hate to say that I like this next week's movie better than this week, but that's what I got.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me help you, because I think I understand what you're getting at, and what your struggle is. Again, it's hard. The movie won't let you sort of get absorbed in it, partially because of the bad special effects, and the other part is because it's kind of tonally very imbalanced. When you talk about the remake, I'm having flashbacks of things that probably Roger Ebert said about, why do they always remake good movies? They should take subpar movies and remake them into something better. Like, why take a movie that did it right and do it again? Take a movie that was missing the mark and try it again. That's kind of what they're doing with this. I mean, this is something, like you said, it was marred by its limitations in special effects, and now they can do it. Now they can pretty much do anything they please. It would have been interesting to see if they actually just redid the book, redid this film. I mean, I kind of like the fact that they put a different spin on it for the sequel, and said, okay, well, now we're in the video game era. So, and plus, we can actually go to the quote unquote jungle. I mean, I don't know if they actually went somewhere to film this, or if it's all backdrops or whatever.
They filmed it in New Hampshire. Actually, not that far from where I got married.
Well, there you go. Okay. Right. I mean, the jungles of Africa, New Hampshire, same thing, whatever.
I meant this movie. This particular movie was filmed in Keene, New Hampshire.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was, so yeah. So, like, again, I feel your pain. It's not an easy movie to get absorbed in, because of all those things. I mean, seriously, on one hand, you got monkeys driving the police car, and the the cop. I mean, that's sort of way, like seriously, that's how you want to know how a film is in terms of its reality. Throw a cop in it, you know what I mean? Because like if
but
you
not
start,
David Allen Greer.
right? I mean, if you got David Allen Greer playing a police officer, there you go. That, you know what I mean? Like if he does the things that you know a police officer would do, like if someone is shooting at you, there is protocol there. You'd call for backup. You do all kinds of things. You're not just gonna go, whoa, that was crazy. Crazy hijinks. I better go back to whatever. Like, I mean, so again, and I almost felt like that whole character, frankly, was kind of odd. It was like, again, like this guy, we're in a movie with a magic game where the floor can turn into quicksand and jungle animals will run through your house. And this movie decided, let's throw in a guy with a sniper rifle to just shoot people. like
who looks like his character's father, you know?
Oh, is that? I didn't even catch that.
Oh yeah, it's the same actor. The same actor who plays young Alan's father is Van Pelt. We got a little what was that? Peter Pan. In the original play Peter Pan, whoever played Wendy's father also wound up playing Captain Hook.
Ah, okay. No, I didn't know that. Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So little Peter Pan before he got to play Peter Pan and Hook. But go on.
Right. Yeah. Right. So you can see what this movie is kind of using for its inspirations. But so yeah, it's just like, seriously, they're running around a mall with a high powered rifle.
Yeah.
And then, how do we solve this? Well, the car will just bust in, and actually there were some scenes where I'm saying to myself, how did that person not get hit? There was a couple, like, I know there's stunt people that were the customers in the store running out of the way when the car comes. I swear there had to have been at least one or two people who got hit.
Yeah, probably.
They did not look like they made it out of the way. But seriously, like, they crash into the paint. Of course, the paint falls on the guys. Right. I mean, like, tonally, it's kind of all over the place. And honestly, just the idea, like, like Robin Williams comes back. He's dressed very much like Peter Pan, frankly. Wearing the big leaves as clothing, etc. And then he has to go find the girl who was his childhood friend, who was playing the game with him at the time. Which I don't quite understand, by the way, because again, they have to finish the game with Robin Williams and the original girl, yet the two young kids are now playing the game too. So it's like the rules are kind of very all over the place there. But
I've actually got you on that one, but go on.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'll like
the way it was in the original, back when his character was young. The girl went first, and Alan went, and he got thrown into the jungle. So basically, only two players have gone at that point.
Okay.
If they find the game, it's like, oh, okay, now this is player 3, and now this is player 4.
Yeah.
So that's why. And then we went back to being her turn. That's why that happened. I mean,
right.
It's like I said. There's a story they could have really worked. I hate to blame the director, but I'm blaming the director.
No. I mean, that's fair. I mean, there is a line in the film when I guess the two are playing, and then he sort of realizes, oh my god, wait a second, this is you're playing the same game I was playing, etc. So okay, I just didn't catch it. Yeah. But to get back to the point I was making before, the fact that he had to go find the childhood friend to go join him and finish the game. And she starts going off about how that game ruined my life. And I spent years in therapy. And of course, Robin Williams looks like he's about to like pull out you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like, I spent 25 years in a jungle, yada, 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 So, I mean, and honestly, I was, whenever those little scenes would pop up, I'd be like, like, wow, that is a little kind of dark. I feel like if I saw this when I was younger, that would actually give me a nightmare or two, frankly. And by the way, I didn't really understand. I mean, I felt like this was sort of an afterthought, but the idea that when there was a part early on when the little boy had done something, and Robin Williams kind of has this moment where he went from excitement to coming back down and going, yeah, good job,
Yeah.
moving on or whatever, and you were kind of like, wait a second, what was that? And there were one or two moments like that where he was a little short with this kid, and then later he says something like, "Oh my God, 20 years, and I with no one around, and I still ended up becoming my father." And I was like, "Yeah, no. Don't try to wedge that in there, because that made no sense whatsoever. That was such an afterthought and had nothing to do with the story at all."
Yeah, that was kind of thrown in out of left field, wasn't that? You know?
Totally.
And the thing is that goes back to what I was saying about how this story could have been great, because how it could have worked, because that's kind of a compelling thing. I mean, his father was, cold or whatever, and he goes to the jungle for 26 years, and he comes out, and now he grows up to be his father, even though his father wasn't in his life. That could have been a nice, compelling thing to show, but they didn't earn it.
Yeah.
This movie is a whole mess of setup with resolutions that they don't earn.
Yeah. Right. Yes. I think part of it might be is that Robin Williams, he really had there was always that Robin Williams curse in the movies where he was kind of typecast very early. So I like in every Robin Williams movie, there was always one scene where he has to break out and do impressions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was like you had to have one. It was such a, and I kind of think that that's sort of what they were doing here, because again, it starts out, he shows up and he's kind of wild and zany and crazy and over the top, but Robin Williams also had that gift where he could go pretty dark. So I kind of felt like, I think somebody somewhere was saying, well, Robin Williams, I mean, he's got emotional range. We need to show his dark side too. So they kind of just sort of wedged this in here. Oh, I turned into my father, which like literally lasts for like a line and then it's over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes you can just sort of feel, someone in the writer's room or, some producer saying, hey, you got Robin Williams. You got to make him do this. You got to make him do that. You got to take advantage of the fact that you got Robin Williams. So there you go. I mean, that's the only thing I can come up with.
What's happening
here? 26 years later, Peter and Judy Shepard are about to play the same game and make an incredible discovery of their own.
Can you come up with a score?
Yes, I can. I was gonna just give it a 5 and call it a day, but I think I will just give it a 6, because again, it's an original concept. Seriously, I feel like after you and I have been doing this show for like, we're going on 3 years.
Yeah.
And I feel like everything that we talk about tends to be something, a big franchise, a remake, a reboot, etc. And this was the first time I can recall that I had to sit down and watch something that I'd never seen before, was totally original, based, again, not something I was aware of. It had Robin Williams in it, who I haven't seen anything new. I have not seen a new Robin Williams movie in decades, probably. I kind of want to give it points for just sort of being willing to try something new and go out there and just be kind of fun. Little weird, little odd. It's an odd movie for sure. There's parts in it where I'm just like, oh, come on. The part when the big, what is it? A toucan? What do you call that big bird?
I think toucan. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure,
Like when it stole the game and flew off, and I was kind of like, oh come on, why would it do that? Like it was like stuff like that. It's just like, yeah, come on. But anyway, I'm gonna I'll leave it as a 6 because I kind of feel like anything higher than that is me telling people, yes, you should run out and see this, or yes, it's worth your energy to go find it. I can't really say that, so I really should be settling on a 5. But I did appreciate the the uniqueness of it and the freshness, at least for me. So I'll give it a 6.
Actually, that's what I gave it. As much as I was bitching about it, I do appreciate the originality. I do appreciate that it was something different, especially for its time. I mean, there was nothing like this before. I mean, I just think it was almost too ahead of its time and needed a better storyteller to really make it work. It needed at least 3 or 4 more years before CGI had gotten better. And even then, I'm not 100% sure that would have been the right amount of time because 3 or 4 more years brings us into 1999, and we see where Lucas's CGI got him there.
Mm.
There's nothing. I can't point to anything like solid that I hated. I kind of would have liked the adventure. I felt that the plot moved linear in a very nice linear way, and I felt that some of the characterizations did work for me. It just is sad that I just couldn't. You know how we were talking about with Dark Knight, the Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, how
Yeah.
somewhere within those movies the world broke for me and I couldn't get it back together.
Mm.
In this movie, it's the CGI that just
Mm.
that broke the world for me and made it much more difficult to give anything any value, any seriousness. So it's a great effort. There's a lot of hard work that went into this, and I appreciate the story very, very much. But yeah, 6 feels about right.
Mm.
I mean, after beating up on the special effects, I almost feel weird asking you who asked you.
Yeah. I want to. I feel like it'd be so easy at this point just to give it to the monkeys and say they look terrible. But you know what? I'm gonna give it to the concept of Robin Williams as a young boy getting pulled out into the mystic jungle somewhere, coming back as a. I really felt like that was probably a contrivance that was invented in order to stick Robin Williams in this movie and let him be over the top and nutty, like a boy trapped in a man's body. Yeah, I kind of feel like it didn't need it. And then when they win the game at the end, I kind of had a lukewarm feeling about it when the game is over and he snaps back to his original age. That should be satisfying, I guess. But it left me pretty cold, frankly. And again, I mean, it's like he's like, where are the 2 others? And the girl's like, they don't exist yet. They wouldn't even been born yet. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of lame. Like, I suppose, like if you ask people, like, don't you wish you can go back and do things differently? I guess that's kind of what's supposed to feel good about that. But yeah, honestly, it left me a little cold.
I feel you on that one. You know what really bothered me? I don't understand the bats in the beginning.
Mm.
He rolls his roll, he gets sucked into the game, and then all of a sudden, bats come out. Why? Why'd the bats come out? What did the bats have to do with anything? Well, how is
Right.
that? You know what that was? That was to have her running, screaming from the house for dramatic purposes. It's like you didn't need the bats. He just got sucked into the damn game. She could have run screaming from the house, afraid because she watched her friend get sucked into the damn game. The bats was overkill, and they look terrible. Back to the special effects thing. So yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, part of me when I'm watching the movie and they're playing the game, I'm saying to myself, Like, well, you'd think the game would have some things that you could roll on that are not terrible.
Oh.
Like, I mean, I would almost think like part of, again, they don't give you any background as to what the game is, why, who created it, why it has these powers. But you would think sort of like just on a storytelling level that there would be sort of like, well, let's hope we get something good this time, as opposed to something always just being absolutely awful. So I don't know. Yeah, just a little weirdness.
Yeah, agreed. Very, very much weirdness. Which was kind of the tone of the movie. So weirdly, it actually did have a tone.
Well, there you go.
How about for your consideration, sir?
Yeah, for your consideration. I guess I'll just pull a little cheat card and just say I enjoyed seeing Robin Williams.
I do miss that son of a bitch.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's as simple as that. And I kind of feel like people probably don't really remember him as well as they should. And he was a guy when he was here. I wonder if people even really did appreciate him. But I really always did feel like he was really kind of a misunderstood genius.
Mm.
In a way that kind of like an Andy Kaufman was, except not being an asshole. Uh, I mean, I really, honestly, I can recall years ago, like a lot of my all-time favorite movies happened to be Robin Williams movies, and it was getting to where, like, around like The Fisher King, I remember like if I heard there was a new movie with Robin Williams, I went to see it, and I oftentimes would just go by myself back then, So yeah, it was sort of a nice surprise. I mean, again, I knew he was in this movie, but once he kind of came on screen, it was like this welcome surprise, like, oh yeah, Robin Williams, it's nice to see him again. So that, for me, that was nice.
All right, I'll give it. I'll give you that one. It was very nice to see him again.
Mm.
I do miss that son of a bitch. We should do a retrospective on him at some point.
Mm.
Honestly, my favorite thing, I don't know what it is, man. I just love the look and the design of the game board.
Mm.
I hate to stick with that, but there's just it. And honestly, it was actually one of the things that I'm going to complain about when we do next week's episode, because basically the first thing that happens is the board is gone. I like the texture of it, and you know what I think it is. I think it's just before the new movie, the Welcome to the Jungle version of Jumanji came out. Some like um, woodworking guy actually built a Jumanji game board all out of wood, and it was beautiful. And just seeing all the work that he put into it made me realize, holy smokes! I mean, that's some really intricately, sculpted and everything like that. And I kind of like that. So I'm giving it to the board design. I really like the look. I like the texture. I liked, the little smoky thing in the center. I thought it was good. It was great.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I totally agree with you. I do feel that the movie is, if nothing else, it was very creative and overly ambitious. And I think that's, I mean, I sort of feel like that's kind of the conundrum, is that this movie was just a little, wasn't quite ready for what it was trying to do. The effects were not quite there. Although it's funny. As I'm sitting here, I'm saying to myself, this movie was made in 1995.
Yes.
Somehow 7 years later, Die Another Day comes out with the scene of him parasailing on the big giant tsunami wave, and somehow that looks worse than half of the stuff in this movie. And that was just one wave. It's just an ocean wave. Like, how hard could that have been? But this was sort of like their first foray into trying like over the top CGI in the Bond movies, and that's what they got. So part of me is like, I have to sort of say to myself, if I'm a 1995 moviegoer, would this have looked that bad, or would I have been marveling at the stuff that they can do now? I don't know. I really honestly don't know.
That's actually an interesting. I don't know what the hell they did with that stupid
That's
scene. Oh my god, I can see it in my head. The way his knees bend. Just that alone, I'll
Oh my
always
god.
remember. It's like that's a door hinge.
Seriously. Oh my goodness.
So that's it. We did Jumanji. It took a little while to get here, but here we are. Jumanji is done, but the Jumanji horrors continue. And yes, I said horrors. Even though I kind of like the movie, I will admit that it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. So there you go. Because next week, welcome to the jungle, baby. The Rock is in Jumanji. Yes, thank you for
being a good sport.
I'll accept that. That's good. I like that. Yes, thank you for being a good sport with this. But honestly, in a way, I'm not as upset because it looks like even though it wasn't your cup of tea, you still got something out of it. And I suppose as far as films go, that's something.
That's a win. Absolutely. I did. I was, I wouldn't say I was wildly pleasantly surprised, but I tepidly pleasantly surprised. So yeah, so it was not a hardship.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. So until next week, thank you very much. I appreciate your patience with me.
So with that, thank you, my friend, and I will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe and Dave. Join us here every Thursday for a new episode, and be sure to check out the Reviews Without Remorse channel on YouTube for spoiler-free reviews of new releases. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider becoming a Patreon. You can find our page on patreon.com/reviewswithoutremorse, one word. As little as $1 a month goes a long way. All clips in this podcast are for commentary and critique and is considered fair use. No copyright infringement is intended.
Walt Disney has brought the magic back by turning your favorite animated classics into live action hits. And in 2016, Disney brings you the biggest remake yet.
Who the hell are you?
I'm Bambi.
From the director of Furious 7 comes a new Disney classic on Overdrive, Bambi. Starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Bambi.
When I was a boy, they took away my mother. Now it's time for them to pay. Dearly.
Vin Diesel as Thumper.
Why do they call you Thumper?
Because I'm always thumping.
You always what?
I'm always thumping.
Yeah, it's always something, huh?
No, I'm always normal.
Tyrese Gibson as Flower.
I smell bad, but I look good.
And Michelle Rodriguez as Feline, a.k.a. the girl Bambi.
They call themselves Tanglewood. They're a hunting club, and they kill for sport. Like it or not, we're part of the game. Me, you, and all our forest friends.
I ain't got friends. I got a herd.
It's a suicide mission.
Well, if we're going out, we're going out together.
One last ride.
Woo!
What's the matter? Never seen a deer in the headlights?
Surprise! Where are they? Where'd you see them? Give me a sign.
Here's the sign. Deer crossing, mother...
Bambi, featuring the new single from Ludacris, Wham Bam Bambi.
Wham! Bam! Bam! Bam!
Bambi. Get bugged. June 2016.